Hey guys, Diablous here with another video. This time we're gonna go through all my macros. I'm gonna show you the macro and explain it a bit. So let's get started. Starting off with important macros. These are targeting macros that are essential. These are pretty much just targeting the arena enemies. So as you can see, arena 1 with no modifiers, and with shift modifier it will do a frost shock on arena 1 target. So the same thing with control and alt. So the control one is hex, which is pretty rare for me to use in Draenor. But then we have Shear, which I only use for like tranquility and casts that require a fast interrupt. This is because when I do use it through shift, control or alt, it will still use the first non-mod command, so it will target it as well. So I'm not using the wind shear on every cast. Okay, so second we have a focusing macro. This is only to put arena 1, 2 or 3 in focus. So without any mods it will focus 1, and with shift it will focus arena 2, control arena 3. Very simple. This is also pretty important. Then we have mouse over, focus frost shock. This is just to assist with slowing down. For example, if I see my healer going for a fear on their opposite healer and he's trying to get away, I can do a frost shock, a focus frost shock on him to slow him down, for example. Then we have focus hex. This is also important. This is pretty much just to have hex without separately targeting the healer. It can also be done with control arena 3, like here with this macro, but again it will target the enemy, which I don't want necessarily, so I use the focus hex. Then we have focus purge, also very important, and focus wind shear with stop casting, also very important. Then we have a mouse over focus macro. So for example, if I play BGs or RBGs, to save time and not to lose the target, I use mouse over to set the healer on focus, and then it has a shift modifier in it. So when I do shift F, because without modifier, if I use F, it will do the mouse over focus, and if I do shift F, it will do a ghost wolf. This is just to save some space. Then we have mouse over flame shock, which I don't use as enhancement. It's for elemental to spread flame shock. Then we have mouse over frost shock. This is pretty much exactly the same with mouse over focus, but this is for when I'm trying to either assist someone. For example, there is someone from melee like TSG focusing my healer and he's trying to get away and I'm trying to assist it. I do a mouse over frost shock to slow down the second melee without switching my focus from the healer or switching from my main target. For example, if I'm targeting DK and I'm trying to slow down the warrior, I don't have to use I don't even have to use this macro to do a frost shock, for example, because again it will target it and I don't want to switch my target. Or if I'm doing an RBG and I want to slow down someone, I use a mouse over frost shock. Then we have mouse over hex. I rarely use this one, but I used to use this one for RBGs when the hex was instant. So if I had to do a hex, I would do it through mouse over. Then we have a healer and second DPS macros. This one does a clean spirit if I have shift up, and it will do healing surge if I have control up. And these two macros I use with a scroll. So if I scroll shift up, it will cleanse my healer, and if I use control scroll down, it will heal my warrior, and if I use shift scroll down, it will cleanse my warrior. Then we have a save space saving macro. So this is pretty much three abilities in one: capacitor, airbind, and earth elementals. So when I have no modifier up and I do mouse 3, the middle mouse, it will do cap, and if I have shift up, it will do binding, and if I have alt, it will do elemental totem. It's not that important, but it's just to save some space. As you can see, I barely have any slots remaining. Then we have bob cancelling macro. This is when if I play with paladin and he bobs me for some reason, I need to get it off. It's quite important to get it off instantly. For example, if you play versus RMP and if you get blinded and your paladin bobs you, you want to use this macro to remove it, otherwise the mage is gonna spell steal it. Then we have a purge macro. This is only for muting the error sound when you spam purge. This was quite annoying back in the days when you couldn't purge a target unless he had something to purge. So now if you spam it, you get this error message, but if you spam this macro, it's going to be very silent, so you don't get like distractions. Then we have earth shock macro as well as flame shock macro. This is also just to save some space. So when I have no modifiers up, it will do flame shock, and when I have shift up, it will do frost shock on my main target. Then we have flag macro. It's not that important. Grounding macro, this is just to save space. It grounds when I have nothing up, and it will do freedom when I have shift up. Then we have lava lash. This is just for start attack. It used to be a problem back in the days when you could walk and cast lightning bolt at the same time. So I would chase a target, and meanwhile, to close the gap, I would cast a lightning bolt, and as soon as I got to the target, I would do either lava lash or storm strike, and that's why I had stop casting as well as start attack macros, and since then I kept them. There is no specific reason, I just have them now. They're not that important anymore, but back then it was quite important to stop the lightning bolt as soon as you got to the target, so you can start hitting him. Then we have one shot macro. This is start pet attack again from mob. Use the Draenor agility potion, ascendance, use racial, use trinket, and just do guidance or elemental mastery if you have, with stone strike and fire blast. The fire blast comes from the fire ellie, which I don't use, but if I do use it since mob, it would do a burst as well at the same time. Then we have focus stun from the pet. So if you're using primer elementalist, you would have the elemental to do a stun. This would use the stun on the focus target. Then we have tremor macro. This is just to save some space. So when I have nothing up, it does tremor. If I have shift, it would do water shield and control lightning shield. Then I have trinket macro. This is just because if I do decide to change the trinkets, it would use the trinket slot. For me, the trinket slot is always the top one. So if I change this one, I can still use the trinket, because I can switch between the crit or the stamina or whatever. So if it's just to make sure that I don't forget about the trinket switch. And this is exactly the same as Storm Strike on Lava Lash, to stop casting and use Unleash. This is Wind Shear. This is because if I'm casting a Hex, or if I'm casting something, well, pretty much only a Hex or a Healing Surge, it will stop that. I do a wind shear on the main target. This is the same thing, by the way, with the focus wind shear. It has a stop casting. Then we have focus hex macro. Did I go through this? It might be some old macro since it's in the specific one. Then we have focus purge. This is just to purge the focus target, also important. NS lightning bolt, which I don't use anymore since I don't use NS. Mouse over frost shock, this we went through again, this old macro. Mouse over purge, this one I don't use at all. I'm not sure why I have that one. And mouse over surge, I'm pretty sure these are for restoration, but I don't use mouse over healing surge either. This is to hide chat. This is the same principle with the trinket, so if I change the cloak, I still have the use on cloak. It's pretty much for using the parachute. Then we have space saving macro, so with no modifier it does cleansing, with shift it does fire nova. Then we have elemental blast with trinket and blood fury. This is not important since I don't use any of those. This is elemental macro. This is a mount macro. So whenever I'm in place where I can mount up with a flying mount, it prioritizes the flying mount. But if I can't fly, it would put a ground mount up. As well as if I do decide, if I do use a travel mount, this macro will kick them off the seats to free the passenger seats. Then we have shell macro. This is for your earth elemental with primal elementalist, so it will do reinforce on you. So it will do 10% reduction on you, as well as it will do empower if you're with the fire elemental, which I never have. Then we have the same thing with stun and immolate. Well, the stun is very simple. I just use the stun to stun the main target, so I always have the pets auto casts off, and the immolate is for the immolate is to make sure that when I do summon the pet, it doesn't stand still and try to cast immolate. I do it usually when the pet is stuck, so that's why I have the immolate off the auto cast. Then we have Mania. This is just something I used for a movie. And we have Wand of Elemental Shield macro on self-cast. So when you're doing Ashran and you want to use the wand for Lightning Shield, the problem with that is that you can cast it on enemy for some reason. So this one prevents you from accidentally targeting an enemy and casting the lightning shield on him. And that's all for my macros. These first ones are the one that are important, and the space saving macros are obviously least important. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave me a comment below and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And this video has been already too long, so see you guys next time.